Hi, it's Andy here from Sci-Fi Around the World. Today we're looking at A Week in Future Wales by Ffowc Elis. I did have to look up how to pronounce his name. It's a time travel book set in Wales. The method of time travel is quite cool. And that's not even quite cool, it's a bit crap, to be honest. Just basically a German scientist find some elements or chemicals that can just transmit you into the future. So Mr. Powell, the protagonist, the main guy in the book, gets sent to. So it's set in the 1950s Wales, and he gets sent 80 years into the future. So he ends up, or 85, he ends up in 2033, which isn't too far away. Self-driving cars exist, which is pretty cool, and videos and video telephones. So anyway, he basically just gets drugged, falls asleep, and wakes up in 2033. And then in the first version of the future Wales that he goes to, he's there for a week before finding the same guy in the future, or his son, can't remember, who then sends him back to his correct time period. So in the future, in the 2033, Mr. Powell experiences like the perfect Wales. Everyone's speaking Welsh. Like the mining and the brick industries are all run as cooperatives for the good of the people. All the local houses are built from local bricks, and it's this. There's more football. The football season's been extended, and all this kind of cool stuff. If you like football and cooperative quarrying. So yeah, he ends up falling in love with a woman in 5 days after meeting her, and then he has to. But then he comes back to his own timeline. It's like, oh, I want to go live in 2033. I want to marry this woman. So that's what he plans on doing. But then when he goes back to the future, he goes. The timeline's changed. And now, like, no one speaks Welsh, and everything's run by the English, and the Welsh are pretty much slaves and forced to work, and you can't move around without permits. It's all show me your papers and all this kind of stuff. But he does manage to get back to his own timeline in the 50s, and he then settles on the fact that the kind of the paradoxes of time travel means that instead of meeting this woman, he very quickly settles that not finding this woman that he loved in the future, but what he wants to do now is determined to make Wales a better place and make sure these cooperatives happen and more people speak the Welsh language, so that either his grandson or his great grandson can end up marrying this woman that he fell in love with, which is quite a nice touch. But yeah, so it's a good story. It's okay, I enjoyed it, but I'm really glad I found the book. I mean, the book ticks so many boxes for why I started this project of trying to find more science fiction from non-British and non-American native writers. Well, no, English, because obviously Wales is part of Britain. But so this was. So I'd seen this book, when searching for work, because I wanted to start with England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland as the four. We were going to be the 4 starting points for this project, kind of. Once I started the project. So anyway, I kept seeing this Welsh book, but it hadn't been translated. But there was a guy called Stephen Morris who was looking at translating the book and was trying to get funding for it, and he had a little website and stuff like that. And I messaged him saying, is this going to happen? When can I get a book? And I just didn't hear back from him. So I just every now and again I'd check up on it, and then there was a date that I think there was a date that he said it was going to be done by eventually. And that date came and went. And then a few months after, I looked, and it was available. And it was like I think it was like £10, and I think you bought it directly from the website. I can't remember. It's been a while since I bought the book. So this, yeah, so it must have been translated in 2021. So it's only last year, or maybe yeah. So yeah, and there's loads of really cool translation notes about some of the nuances of the Welsh language that just don't translate, word for word, or you just get odd meanings of, like, I can't. There was one about a word was either play or sailing a boat, or it's a different greeting when you go into church, and and so you can't just kind of translate it word for word, because it wouldn't make any sense in English, because it's cultural differences. It's just odd phrases that just pop up. And so the translating notes and the notes by Stephen Morris were really interesting. So there's quite a lot of them, so sometimes it distracted from the story. And they're at the bottom of the page, which was quite good. But sometimes that means that you're always going to read them. Sometimes if they're at the back of the book as an appendix where you have to kind of look them up, it can break up your reading if you want to know about it. But yeah, these ones are at the bottom, the footnotes, and they were useful and interesting. But yeah, it's a massive tick for this project that I found. Obviously someone that was very passionate about Wales. So it's a Welsh author writing about a Welshman in a Welsh in the Welsh country, originally written in Welsh and then only very recently translated, some over 50 years, like 70 years after the first publication. I think it was first published in 57 and translated in 21. So you do the maths. Yeah, so would I recommend the book? I think if you're English or Welsh, or have any connections with Wales, then yeah, this would make a really interesting book. For an American dude or woman living in New York with no kind, I don't know, depending on how much you know about Wales or the Welsh culture. Would you care? Would it? Is the story strong enough to kind of transcend its massive Welshness? Nah, probably not. Yeah, I mean, if you live in America and you see it in like a second-hand or a thrift shop, buy it and read it. I don't think you'd be disappointed. But if you're spending $15 on it and then maybe another $30 to get it shipped over, maybe not worth $50. But anyway, if you're in Wales or England, enjoy it.